secrets behind closed doors. James had always considered himself a lucky man. He had a beautiful wife, a stable job, and a picturesque home in the suburbs. But fate, as it often does, had a way of playing cruel tricks. It all started on an ordinary Friday evening. James returned home earlier than expected, eager to surprise his wife, Emily, with dinner. As he stepped into their house, he noticed something off: 2 half-filled wine glasses on the kitchen counter, a man's jacket draped over the chair. His heart pounded in his chest. He moved silently, following the soft murmur of voices upstairs. His stomach twisted into knots as he reached the bedroom door, which was slightly ajar. Through the gap, he saw Emily sitting on the edge of the bed, her hands clasped together as she whispered urgently to someone. Then, a voice, deep, familiar. "You know we can't keep doing this. He'll find out eventually." James froze. That voice belonged to Mark, his best friend of over 15 years. Rage mixed with disbelief as he pushed the door open. The moment their eyes met, Emily gasped, her face going pale. Mark scrambled to his feet, looking guilty as sin. "James, Emily started, but he cut her off with a sharp glare. "Don't," he said, his voice dangerously low. The room filled with suffocating silence. James turned on his heel and walked away, his mind racing. Should he confront them? Should he leave? Should he destroy everything in his path? As he stood in the doorway, breathing heavily, a twisted sense of calm settled over him. He wouldn't react now, not yet. But one thing was certain: they had no idea what was coming next. James stormed out of the house, his fists clenched so tightly that his nails dug into his palms. His mind was a hurricane of emotions: anger, betrayal, heartbreak. Every memory of Emily and Mark, every inside joke, every moment of trust, now felt like a cruel illusion. He drove aimlessly for hours, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. His thoughts were dark, but amidst the chaos, one thing became clear: he wasn't going to be the victim. By the time he returned home, it was past midnight. The house was quiet, the air thick with tension. Emily was in the kitchen, her tear-streaked face illuminated by the dim light above the sink. "James," she started, her voice trembling. He said nothing, just stared at her. "I swear, it was a mistake," she pleaded. It was nothing." "Nothing?" James laughed bitterly. "You and my best friend sneaking around behind my back for God knows how long? That's nothing?" Emily stepped closer, reaching for him, but he backed away. "Please, just let me explain," she begged. James exhaled slowly, forcing himself to stay calm. "Fine," he said, crossing his arms. "Explain." She hesitated. "It started months ago. Mark, he was there for me when you were always working late. I didn't plan for this to happen. It just did." James shook his head, disgusted. "So you accidentally fell into his arms? Into his bed?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I know I messed up. But I love you, James. Please, we can fix this." He studied her for a long moment. He had loved this woman. He had given her everything. But now? Now he felt nothing but a cold emptiness. Then, an idea formed in his mind. A dangerous, satisfying idea. "All right," he finally said, his voice eerily calm. "We'll fix this." Emily's face lit up with hope. "But on one condition," he continued. "You tell Mark to come over tomorrow night. We'll all sit down and talk." She hesitated, sensing something was off. "What do you mean?" James smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You'll see." And in that moment, James knew this wasn't about fixing anything. This was about making them pay. The next evening, the air inside the house was thick with tension. James had spent the entire day preparing, but not in the way Emily expected. His mind was sharp, his plan was set. He wasn't going to yell, he wasn't going to beg, he was going to make them suffer in a way they would never forget. At exactly 7 p.m., the doorbell rang. Emily jumped slightly and looked at James nervously. "He's here." James gave her a reassuring nod, masking the storm brewing inside him. "Go let him in." She hesitated, but eventually walked to the door. When she opened it, Mark stood there, looking far too comfortable for a man caught in an affair. He even had the audacity to smirk at Emily. "Hey," he greeted casually, stepping inside. James watched the way Mark placed his hand on Emily's lower back, like he already owned her. His blood boiled, but he kept his composure. "Come in, Mark," James said, forcing a friendly tone. "Have a seat." Mark strolled in like he belonged there. James wanted to wipe that smug look off his face so badly, but he had to wait. They all sat in the living room, an uncomfortable silence filling the space. Emily wrung her hands nervously, while Mark leaned back like he didn't have a care in the world. "So," James started, looking directly at Mark. "How long?" Mark raised an eyebrow. "How long what?" James tilted his head, a dark smile playing on his lips. "How long have you been sleeping with my wife?" Emily flinched at the bluntness, but Mark? Mark laughed. "Oh, come on, man," Mark said, stretching his arms. "You work late, you travel a lot, and Emily? She gets lonely. Can you blame her?" James let out a low chuckle. "No," he said, nodding slightly. "I can't blame her." Emily and Mark both looked surprised at his response. "Really?" Mark smirked. "Didn't think you'd be this chill about it." "Oh, I'm not chill about it," James replied, standing up. "I just wanted to give you the chance to be honest. But since you're so casual about it." Before either of them could react, James pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. The large TV in the living room flickered to life, and a video started playing. Emily's face drained of color. Mark sat up, his smirk fading fast. On the screen was a hidden camera video, Mark and Emily, in their secret moments, in the very same house. "I installed cameras 3 months ago," James said coolly, watching their reactions. "You know, for security. Turns out, I caught something a little more interesting." Emily covered her mouth, horrified. "James, you recorded us?" Mark shot to his feet. "You're insane, man." James shrugged. "Am I? Or am I just a husband who saw the truth?" He turned to Emily, his voice now void of emotion. "You wanted honesty? Well, here it is." Emily sobbed. "Please, James, Save it," James cut her off. "I already made my decision." Mark narrowed his eyes. "And what decision is that?" James grinned. "You'll see soon enough." Mark's face twisted with anger. "You think you can just humiliate me like this?" he snapped, stepping forward. James, completely unfazed, smirked. "Oh, Mark, I haven't even started yet." Emily was sobbing now, shaking her head in disbelief. "James, please, we can fix this." "No, Emily," James cut her off coldly. "You ruined this." He turned his gaze back to Mark. "And you, well, I have something special for you." Mark scoffed. "What are you gonna do, huh? Hit me? Kick me out?" James chuckled, shaking his head. "No. You see, I already handled everything." He tapped his phone again, and suddenly, Mark's own phone started buzzing violently on the coffee table. Confused, Mark snatched it up. The moment he looked at the screen, his face drained of color. What the hell?" Mark stammered. James leaned in, his voice deadly calm. "I sent that video to your fiancé, your boss, and your family. Should be hitting their inboxes right about now." Mark's hands trembled as he frantically tried to call someone, probably his fiancé, but the call didn't go through. "Oh, I also locked you out of your own accounts," James added with a smirk. "Figured you wouldn't need them after tonight." Mark's panic was immediate. "You son of a..." James raised a hand. "Aha, careful with your words. You should focus on explaining yourself to your now ex-fiancé." Emily gasped, realizing what was happening. James, you ruined his life. James turned to her with a blank stare. And you ruined mine. Silence filled the room. Mark grabbed his keys and stormed toward the door, cursing under his breath. As he left, he shot James a look of pure hatred. You'll regret this. James smirked. Doubt it. As the door slammed shut, Emily fell to her knees, sobbing. James, please, I made a mistake, James inhaled deeply, then exhaled, shaking his head. No, Emily. You made a choice. And so did I. With that, he turned and walked toward the bedroom, leaving her there, broken, exposed, and drowning in her own guilt. The end.